I don't think that's the case. Astrid shook her head. That creature didn't give off any feeling of defending its territory when it cried out. It was as if it was warning us to not attack it. She waved a hand dismissively. Abby nodded. Monsters tend to act similarly to how animals would act, though they may be more aggressive. The fact that it left without doing anything to us, I suspect it wasn't the same as the one that marked the trees. She sighed as though it was one less thing she needed to worry about. Hearing both Astrid and Abby, Bill wasn't completely convinced. He did look better, like the two women holding similar thoughts was a little reassuring. What are we going to do now? Tommy asked. Since we still haven't completed the job, we'll need to keep going. Unfortunately, just staying here isn't an option, Abby said to the group standing in front of her. Tommy's eyes looked over at the twins, then to Claire and Hannah. Noticing the look, Abby said, "We can spend a little time here to recover, but we'll need to leave after we rest." Tilting her head, Abby raised her hand to massage her neck due to the built-up stress. "I'll take up the first shift. The rest of you get some rest." Though Astrid and Frida looked to want to protest at being sent to rest first, it was clear from their bodies that rest was desperately needed. They merely nodded along with Bill and Tommy. Claire listened to the conversation but felt her eyelids become heavy. Instead of fighting the urge to drift off to sleep, she dove straight towards it. Abby watched as her sister finally drifted off to sleep. It was impressive that Claire was able to stay awake for as long as she did. Turning her head, the twins could be seen holding each other as they slept. There was the occasional jerking movement, likely due to a nightmare they were experiencing. It wasn't long until she was the only one awake. "Let's go do a quick perimeter check," Abby thought to herself. With practiced ease, she walked away from the group, barely making a sound. The moss on the ground helped to absorb her footsteps. Several dozen feet away from the group, she scanned her surroundings. At least it's still peaceful, though the question is, what caused the low number of monsters? Abby looked in the direction that the snake came from. Taking a deep breath, we'll need to go in that direction to find out if there's anything there. Walking alone in the dark without the monsters, there wasn't much for her to be wary of. She was convinced that the deer creature wouldn't be something they'd encounter again. A shudder ran through her body as she remembered its cry. As it grew dark, there was a light mist on the ground. The mist added to the mood of the forest as Abby continued her patrol. It seems that the energy has increased again, just a little bit. Abby was glad that she wasn't having a headache that had signaled the area being too dangerous for them. She made a fist with both hands and raised them in front of her. Punching the air a few times, there was a whistling sound from the displacement of air. Adding in the occasional kick into the air, Abby went through a slight training routine to test out how her body was performing. When she stopped, Abby enjoyed the cool air on her skin. Surprisingly, my body isn't performing worse than I thought it would. The only thing is the fatigue that has piled on, which will be taken care of after a nice rest. She stopped and jumped lightly several times. Stretching out her arms, she tried to fight off the desire to take a nap. Continuing to walk, Abby scanned the surroundings for any indication that monsters had passed through the area. Compared to previous days, there weren't any prints or disturbances in the moss, indicating that the area was relatively peaceful. Alone with her thoughts, concerns about the deer monster crept into her mind. It made her wonder whether such things were something she needed to be concerned about once they felt like they were ready.